Ladies and gentlemen, the first development diary for the free EU5 1.2 patch and the Fate of the Phoenix immersion pack has just hit the Paradox forums, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Obviously, we're going to be going over all of the changes that have been outlined that are coming to Byzantium, since this is a immersion pack for Byzantium, and of course, we're going to be going over what little has been said about the free 1.2 patch that comes alongside it, which I think is even more interesting than the changes that have been brought forth for Byzantium, because this one little throwaway line has the potential to change the entire way in which EU5 is played, and honestly, this might be the return of mission trees to Europa Universalis 5 as we knew them from EU4. So without further ado, let's jump in. Alright, here we are on the Paradox forums, ladies and gentlemen, on Tinto Talks 100 from the 18th of March 2026. Obviously, you can go and read this for yourself as well, but without further ado, let's jump right in. So Saint Dave right here says, hello and welcome to our 100th Tinto Talks. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to give you a rundown on many of the things planned for the 1.2 patch, and also details on the shiny new Fate of the Phoenix immersion pack that will release alongside it. So I'm sure as many of you, most of you know by now, 1.2 is going to be a free patch that everyone is going to get, just like 1.1, the one we just got, that's going to release alongside the Fate of the Phoenix immersion pack. So remember, Fate of the Phoenix, small little content update for Byzantium, paid, probably not very expensive, and 1.2 patch free. We're all gonna get it. No mechanics changes are gonna be paid. It's not, you know, pay to win or something like that. It's not gonna be like EU4 at all, but we're gonna get into that more later. But here is the little bit of notes that we have on the free 1.2 patch, and honestly, this is the most interesting thing to me out of this entire dev diary, even with all of the changes coming to Byzantium that we're gonna get into shortly, because listen to this. 1.2 Echinades, I think, focuses on a plethora of different quality of life changes. Awesome. Ranging from exposing hidden content to improving map modes, some balance changes, as well as some free content to the Balkan Sphere, Orthodoxy, and the Holy Roman Empire. There's also lots of new free features related to economy, politics, and diplomacy, and we have taken a long look at logistics as well. I'll be revealing more details in the future Tinto Talks. So you think to yourself, okay, no big deal, let's read about Byzantium, but hold up. Hold it right there. This, to me, is the most interesting line right here. Okay, quality of life issues, blah, blah, blah. Ranging from exposing hidden content. Now, as we all know, man, flavor in Europa Universalis 5 definitely leaves a lot to be desired. Sure, lots of countries have lots of flavor, but, you know, most of it is locked away behind the advances, which sure replaces, like, national ideas from EU4 and idea groups and blah, blah, blah. And that's all fine. That's all right. I'm personally kind of happy with that. But most of the complaints, of course, about flavor towards countries have come from the fact that we don't have mission trees like we do in EU4. Sure, they exist, but it's really just tutorial stuff, and sure, they can be modded, but really, there's no missions in EU5, and a lot of the flavor does come from events. Now, most of these events, I'm gonna be honest, you know, they don't bring anything to the table. They're not that cool. Oh, look, an advisor. Or, oh, look, that happened. Build a building or don't build a building for 90,000 ducats. But really, a lot of these countries do have cool and interesting events that a lot of us have no idea how to trigger. Like, the other day, I was just playing England once again, and I was like, hey, we played all the way to the Age of Reformation. Why don't I go Anglican as England, as Great Britain? That would be fun, right? How do I do that? How do you become Anglican as Britain? So I go online, I Google, you know, I make videos, and I don't even know this. How to become Anglican as England, EU5. And apparently, it has to be between 1530 and 1560, and you need to have a male ruler that's older than 20 years, and he needs to have no male children, and that's how you'll become Anglican. How are we supposed to know this? Right? I mean, sure, there is a little bit of merit in playing the game and finding out as you go along, but listen, one can play England 100 times, and they can always have, you know, male heirs between 1530 and 1560, and there's literally no way to know how you become an Anglican unless you go online and read these things, right? So I think that is something that people have been asking for a very long time. I've been reading it on the forums, on the Reddit, in Discords, in the comments of my videos and stuff like that. People want a way where they can see what exactly are the triggers for these events, right? I don't care about triggering a unique advisor or building a building for 90,000 ducats, but important events such as becoming Anglican, for example, for England, and other stuff too, which, you know, there's no need mentioning, we need to know how they get triggered. And obviously, you know, I don't really play Victoria 3. Let me know if you want to see that, by the way, make a fool of myself. But apparently in Victoria 3, there's a thing that's like a journal or whatever, from what I understand, that, you know, basically lets you know the triggers of these events and stuff like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. So what I'm hoping that we see in 1.2 right here is a way for us to see, you know, this hidden content, and I'm talking about events, of course, and what the triggers for those are. Right? So for example, you're playing as England, once again, giving that example, you open up the ledger or something, you scroll down, you know, during that time frame, this can happen. Here's what needs to happen for that to happen. And that would be awesome. That would be a way for us to see this hidden content, right? To actually interact with it. As for now, you know, as opposed to now where we just hope that it happens or you research on how it happens. So I think that would be an excellent change. And the way I said it in the intro and probably in the title as well, why this would bring back mission trees from EU4, it's pretty much the same thing, isn't it? You know, same poop, different toilet, you know? It's like, they're not really missions in the sense that, okay, you're playing as the Ottomans, and if you conquer, I don't know, the Balkans, you get claims on Hungary. It's not really like that, but, you know, it's kind of things that you kind of want to do to get that thing going, right? Are you really going to gun hard to do those things? Maybe not, but at least, you know, we'll know what we need to do in order to trigger those things. So yeah, it's basically repackaged missions, man. If we do expose the hidden content, the events, and we know what we need to do to trigger them, and then, you know, you play along in that playstyle in order to trigger them. It's just repackaged missions. And obviously, man, I've been critical of this since the start, since EU5 was announced. I am very much against EU5 not having missions. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that EU5 has, along with the start date. But yeah, if this does come in, and if it is what I think it is, exposing hidden content, I think that will be an awesome change for EU5 and will completely change the way we play it, at least with countries, you know, that have lots of these flavor events, which I think is really what hidden content is. So yeah, that was the main thing that I took away from this entire dev diary, man. I think it's super important. I hope it is what I've just been saying it is. If it's not, I guess, you know, we'll find out next dev diary or whatever. But I think that's very cool. Improving map modes as well, that would be nice. Some of them do genuinely suck. Most of them are actually really good. The only thing I would say about this is add the rivers to the roads map mode, just like it is on that roads mod that I use. The rivers are there as well. When you build roads, you want to see the rivers too. I want to know where to put down bridges. There's no need for two different map modes, just rivers and just roads. Put the rivers in the roads map mode, that's all I want. Balance changes, I guess it remains to be seen what that is. Free content to the Balkan sphere is very much welcome. The Balkans for me, along with northern Italy, are the two most fun regions to play in EU5, so free content to that would be awesome, especially for, you know, Bulgaria, for example, you know, making them collapse when that original guy dies, so the Ottomans have an easier time getting in. Probably making the Serbian disaster harder is what I would also like to see. Content for Albania, because Albania had such good content in EU4, man. It was one of my most fun countries to play, so I would love to see more stuff for them. Maybe one or two things for Bosnia, Wallachia, something like that, but that might just be an actual DLC as opposed to free content. I guess we'll have to see. Orthodoxy too, very much welcome changes to Orthodoxy. It is definitely weak compared to Catholic, and the HRE too, it remains to be seen because the HRE gets, you know, tweaked all the time. That would be awesome as well. And free features related to economy, politics, diplomacy, and logistics. You know, we'll have to read to see what those changes are. But yeah, that's I've been yapping up enough about just this little a little paragraph right here. But I do think this is some of the most interesting thing I've read from this dev diary. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into it. you know, regarding the DLC packs and how they're structured, and then we'll talk about Biz, because Biz is getting a lot of cool things. So now the first thing right here is the DLC packs. Firstly, a little bit about the naming conventions we're using for EU5 DLCs, just so everyone is on the same page. And pay attention to this so you don't go complaining immediately before you know what's going on. An immersion pack is a smaller DLC that increases the depth of a single country or elaborates on a focused theme. That is what this is. Immersion pack, tiny, you know, one country, Byzantium. A Chronicle pack has a medium-sized and offers a little more player value, for example, focusing on 2 countries and often a wider narrative theme. So we'll get into what, you know, those could be in the future. And of course, we have the expansion pack as the 3rd tier, even larger in scope, but we won't be releasing one of those this year. Sad, but it is what it is. So yeah, this is going to be an immersion pack strictly focused on Byzantium, man. If you take a look at how these are structured, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about price as well. They are going to be probably priced in different tiers. So let's say this one is $5 or $10, $10 or $15, 15 or you know, 20 or 25. I doubt it would go up to 30, maybe $30 as well, depending on the expansion. And yeah, just a bit of stuff focusing on a little bit of a thing. You know, Chronicle packs, maybe they would focus on you know, on situations as well, add international organizations. An expansion pack I really envision as sort of a region-based expansion. For example, you know, if we get an immersion pack for Byzantium, a Chronicle pack for, you know, Castile, and then, you know, Aragon and Portugal and stuff like that, which I think is in the pipeline, and then an expansion pack focused on like a big region, maybe like, you know, an Italy DLC, changes everything about Italy. They got, you know, 2 or 3 unique situations right there, a couple of unique international organizations as well. That's what I envision as an expansion pack. But moving on from that, the premium edition of EU5 contains Fate of the Phoenix immersion pack and also 2 more unreleased DLCs, Across the Pillars, which is for Iberia, which I just mentioned, and Old Alliance, which is, I think, going to be about Scotland and France, which will both be medium-sized Chronicle packs. So yeah, Across the Pillars, probably Castile, Portugal, Granada, maybe Aragon, I don't know, and Old Alliance, France and Scotland. Those, I think, should be coming this year as well. We'll see. They'll both be medium-sized. That means if you already own the EU5 Premium Edition, you'll automatically unlock this DLC content when it releases. So, if you bought the Premium Edition of EU5, you'll get Fate of the Phoenix for free. You'll also get Across the Pillars for free and Old Alliance for free. So, that's actually quite a bit of savings. Yeah, so shout out to you if you bought the Premium Edition. Hopefully that has explained our intentions here, but feel free to ask questions about this topic. Now, let's move on to Fate of the Phoenix. So, Fate of the Phoenix is an immersion pack, so it's one of the smaller offerings that we have planned, focusing almost exclusively on the surviving Byzantium. I will outline the vision of the DLC a little bit here, which is built on the following pillars. Managing the Byzantine state. Continuous gameplay to immerse, short-term goals. Eastern Roman revanchism, mid-term goals to restore your foothold. Roman Empire revival, long-term fantasy reward, hard to achieve. Yeah. This is an excellent outline, man. So obviously from this, we know we'll be getting changes to this. Managing the Byzantine state basically changes at the start of your campaign as Byzantium. You know, it's already hard enough. I'm assuming they'll make it even harder, but I also expect slightly better rewards, so I'll hold you to that. Midterm goals, obviously, you know, expansion in the Balkans, in Anatolia, maybe pushing down to the Levant and stuff like that. Basically, you know, getting towards peak Eastern Roman Empire borders, and long-term fantasy reward, obviously restoring the Roman Empire, hard to achieve, very long playthrough and stuff like that. Most of us will, well, actually, we all like the Roman Empire, so maybe most of us will actually get to play with this. But yeah. So first of all, starting with strike back against the expanding Ottomans, Serbians, and other nearby vultures with the Fate of the Phoenix disaster, which brings you new options for internal politics and options for expansion. Now that's all fine and dandy, but these guys aren't the Byzantine enemy, bro. Byzantium very rarely loses to the Ottomans, okay? Maybe 1 out of every 10 games. Serbia very rarely fights Byzantium. 3 out of 10 games? 4 out of 10 games? You guys need to play your own game, man. Sorry, no disrespect to the devs, but you guys do know if Byzantium does collapse, it's Bulgaria that does it, right? The country that's actually supposed to be the weakest out of these three guys that are surrounding Byzantium, out of Serbia, Bulgaria, and the Ottomans, is actually the most powerful, and it ends up being the most successful usually every game. So I hope at least a little bit of changes are brought to them so they weaken after the initial ruler dies. But the way I'm getting into semantics here. So experience improvements to Eastern Orthodoxy and dynamics of the patriarchates. This is good. The base is there with everyone having their autocephalous patriarchate as opposed to the the main Byzantium one. I welcome those changes. Orthodox, like I said, is weak compared to Catholic. Dozens of new events to immerse you deeper into the narrative of Byzantium's final years or their resurgence. That's awesome. Revive the classical era with ways to hark back to Latin culture, legions, and expanded Hellenistic religion. I think this is pretty cool. Nice fantasy stuff. This was never brought to Byzantium for EU4, which a lot of people did want. Obviously, you can currently actually go back to being a Hellenistic or whatever as Byzantium. There's an event with this one advisor and stuff like that, although it does happen pretty rarely. So I'm glad, and we'll get more into that later, but there will be paths to either go remain Greek or go fully Greek with Hellenism, or even, go back to being Latin and stuff like that, which I think is interesting. Obviously, this is more fantasy stuff, but it is cool nevertheless. And a brand new set of illustrations and 3D models for more immersion into Greek culture and Orthodox religion. Greek Orthodox choir music, hey, that's nice, brings you right into the grand halls of Constantinople. Obviously, this is just, some looky look and heary hear stuff, but it's cool nevertheless. I'll be revealing parts of the DLC and details of the surrounding patch over the next few weeks and opening up the discussion a bit to hear your thoughts, but today we're looking at some of the ways we're tying together content for managing the Byzantine state. All right, let's get into bureaucracies immediately right here, because this is kind of honestly the biggest thing about this. So representing the massive organs of administration necessary for running a large modern state, bureaucracies are a brand new feature making an appearance. So we can take a look at this right here. A bureaucracy is a branch of the government that grows over time, draws money from the balance. Great, more ways for us to be poor, and provides good and bad modifiers with dynamic strength. Each bureaucracy has positive, neutral, and negative modifiers. Neutral modifiers are constant. The amount of ducats spent on maintenance impacts whether the negative or positive modifier is more dominant. So you don't spend on bureaucracy, they'll suck you dry. Think of the eunuchs in China. Spend on bureaucracy, I guess you'll see the benefits, but they'll probably also suck you dry once again. Entrenchment increases steadily over time, increasing the cost, but also increasing the power of both positive and negative modifiers. A bureaucracy with higher entrenchment is more costly to remove. So to explain this in real life terms, all those senators in the United States that are like 90 years old, they're entrenched. Talking about you, Nancy Pelosi. How do you make so much money? It's simple. Pelosi tracker. Estates may like or dislike active bureaucracies, which will impact their estate satisfaction relative to the entrenchment. They may also ask to increase or reduce the entrenchment via parliament agenda. So yeah, basically any estates, probably the crown as well, will be a fan or not a fan of certain bureaucracies. For Byzantium, bureaucracies represent the ancient arms of the government that have been grandfathered in from a previous time, a time when large administrative apparatuses gave the empire great sway over the Mediterranean and beyond, but times changed. So yeah, these guys are like leftovers. Oh, we had a great empire, so I must exist. Shut the frick up. You're a bum in Constantinople that's about to collapse to the Ottomans, Just talking to the entrenched bureaucrats here. So there you go, Byzantine bureaucracy. We got 2 bureaucracy slots and we allow it. In 1337, the rump state of Byzantium is stuck with these outdated systems built for managing a vast empire. Now they're a drain on the more humble position that the emperor finds himself in. Yeah, exactly what I just said. Each bureaucracy has negative, positive, and neutral. We said that. They grow more entrenched, resulting in the power of the good and bad modifiers. We read this right here. Funding them correctly allows them to flourish, giving you bonuses. Funding them poorly, they grow corrupt. Higher crown power can reduce their costs, making them less burdensome. So we have these things right here. Another added tab right here next to country and values. Here are some bureaucracies. So we got the themata bureaucracy. This is what it gives us. So plus 10% proximity impact, and 10% infantry combat is what I'm feeling this is. Damn, they actually cost quite a lot. Wow. Imperial Senate, parliament efficiency, maybe. Legislative efficiency, something like that. Legitimacy, I'm just going off of the icons right here. Honorary titles, no, this is cabinet efficiency, right? Or I don't know. Estate satisfaction equilibrium. Corruption, inflation, I don't know. Books of the Basilica, plus 5% rebel growth, plus 5% tax efficiency. and 0% estate power. So, you know, just going off of the icons, what I think they are, I'm not sure if that is exactly what they are, but here are 4 yeah, bureaucracies. Now at this point, man, I think this is a little bit into a playthrough, because obviously, as we just saw right here, we start off with +2 max bureaucracy slots. I don't know if it's +2 to the 2 base ones, but this I think is not at the start of the game. Not sure. Since we have tribes, yeah, it's definitely not at the start of the game, so this is later. I guess you unlock more as you go along. In the Fate of the Phoenix, okay, well, maybe I should just read. Byzantium starts with 4 slots already filled with unique bureaucracies, Themata, the Imperial Senate, honorary titles, and 60 books of the Basilica. Hey, it's like 6 books of the Republic. But that's 60 books of the Basilica, and a total of 7 more that it can implement in the late game. They can unlock 2 additional slots, one in the Age of Reformation and another in the Age of Revolution. So here we have some more. Strata something, general abilities, so these are the positive effects. Neutral effects, negative effects. Negative are pretty negative. Yeah, this one doesn't make sense. I wouldn't use this one. Yeah, positives aren't good enough to outweigh the negatives. Then we got Ritualistic Court, sorry. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. This one's not that bad. This one is a good one. I like that one. Then Max Urban Control. I feel like we already have Urban Control quite a lot, man. They should probably change this to, yeah, maybe Rural. Cabinet Seat, that's OP. Buildings cost plus 25%, totally worth it. I take this every time. Being vast administrations, each bureaucracy demands huge amount of paper, books, and furniture in your capital, scaled up by their entrenchment. So yeah, bureaucracy maintenance. Yeah, this is what they want. Makes sense. Yeah. Each bureaucracy available is liked or disliked by the different estates in your country. This increases or decreases their max estate satisfaction relative to entrenchment. Estates will also raise parliament agendas to entrench or disentrench specific bureaucracies based on their opinions. I like that. That's very good. Likewise, removing a bureaucracy will cause stability relative to the entrenchment, and will also anger or please estates depending on the options relative to the entrenchment. Makes sense. Currently, only Biz and Trebizond, nice, have bureaucracy content in the DLC, but the system is available to modders, very nice, and we have a lot of ideas how to expand this feature to other countries in the near future. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good feature, man. I think it's a pretty good feature. Right now, it'll only be Biz and Trebizond exclusive, which makes sense. You know, as to when it does expand in the future, what I'm interested in seeing is, will we see generic free bureaucracies that anyone, or not anyone, but some countries may have, and will we see unique bureaucracies which other countries have? Maybe that's answered in the comments. We'll read it later. Next, we're going to move on to societal value. In Fate of the Phoenix, Byzantium also gets a unique societal value. Latinas versus Hellenas. Hey, I like both. As Byzantines, you're indisputably Roman, but this determines whether your society leans more towards Italic or Greek spheres. Makes sense, but I don't know if, you know, by this point, man, Byzantium was, for a very long time, relatively fully Greek. I know they were like the Roman Empire, but, you know, let's see what it offers. So, Hellenas. When Hellenas are maxed out, they scale up to heavy cavalry power. That's actually very good. I love playing with heavy cavalry. Minus 20% stab investment cost, plus 100% number of cataphracts. That's very good. That's actually pretty powerful, but that's obviously at max, right? So it's very rare that you'll reach max super soon. Byzantium gets very far towards the Hellenismo side, but through parallel action, you can return to the old ways of the ancient Roman Empire. And then we have Latinas. When Latinas are dominant, it scales up to heavy infantry power, so the opposite of heavy cavalry. Expected Diplo spending minus 20%, so this is more subject-focused playthrough maybe, and number of legionnaires. Yeah, I actually like both of these, and I like the modifiers too. Yeah, very cool. Orthodoxy, your capital being Constantinople and Greek language will drift you towards Hellenismos, while Catholicism, Rome, and Romance languages will drift you towards Latinitas. So, a warning from the clergy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so basically, man, if you do like, oh, it says it right here. If you find yourself on a reconquest of Italy, you might find that the Latin side of your empire gradually becomes stronger and impossible to ignore. I like that. I like that. I like the balance of that, man. That's very cool. Yeah, I think this will be an awesome thing to play with. You know, do you go early conquest in Italy? Do you culture convert stuff to Greek so you stay Greek? Do you culture flip to an Italian culture and you know, convert the Greek stuff to like Latin? Can you revive the Latin culture? I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, there are lots of events focused on tweaking one way or the other, and they're generally quite dynamic. Their effects will sometimes scale based on the size of your country or the abilities of the characters involved. Several of them have multiple outcomes, so the same event can give you different options each time. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope, yeah. Push 10% towards that. When you're 100% on the side of the societal value, the events are designed in such a way that a push to the other side will offer enticing rewards enough to make you consider the shift. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I'm actually a big fan of this. Nice. Let's move on to the Fate of the Phoenix Disaster. Okay, so it's not like there's not enough suffering at the start. If you start off as Byzantium, they already have like 18 different disasters, which are already hard enough to get through. I'm assuming this is going to be an even harder one, but I hope with better rewards. So let's see what it has to offer. Almost immediately, Byzantium will be plunged into a new disaster called the Fate of the Phoenix. It offers many opportunities to interact with the immediate world and Roman politics. So there it is. This is gonna be ass, bro. This is gonna be so hard. I just hope we get early access to this DLC so I can test it for you guys, man. If not, hey, we're all gonna be learning together. But in 1337, Byzantium finds itself in a difficult position. The rise of various external threats in the east, remnants of Rum, the various Beyliks. Yeah, I just hope you make them actual threats. They're not threats. Serbia and Bulgaria are way bigger threats. Ottomans never attack you, so I hope the Ottomans are made more aggro. Have greatly diminished the empire's control across the Bosphorus. In recent years, the Byzantine army suffered great devastation and defeats at the hands of Orhan Bey, resulting in the loss of key cities across the coast of Marmara. Yeah, basically the main Ottoman cities. In the north, the ambitious Stefan Uroš IV plans to erect his own empire on the foundations of Rome, while the Bulgarians are keeping a keen eye on these developments. Indeed, the title of Rome has never been in such peril, fleeting from the Byzantine grasp. Yeah, and this is awesome. So, and this is awesome, and this is awesome. In theory, you're supposed to feel super threatened by these guys. They're supposed to be super aggro, but then, moving on from Byzantium, they're supposed to collapse. Ottomans should come in and clear everything out. Right now, that doesn't happen, man. Sure, in the hands of the player, you can win as the Ottomans, or as Serbia, or as Bulgaria, or as Biz. But when the AI does it, you know, Biz stays alive, you know, a couple of games. Bulgaria wins a couple of games. Ottomans win one game. Serbia doesn't know it's not supposed to release subjects in, you know, southern Macedonia to become an empire. And even then, even if they do, they don't collapse. So, yeah, I think a lot of the flavor on this hinges on the other guys being actual challenges. Talking about AI-only games, of course. When I'm playing France, I want to see big-ass Ottomans in the Balkans and Anatolia. But that's on more stuff later. So either way, very cool in theory. So here's the Fate of the Phoenix. Let's just take a look at some stuff we can do. So obviously we're going to be getting rebels, request a Roman donation. Maybe this will steer us more towards the Latin stuff, towards being Catholic. Grant Italian merchants privileges. This is for Genoa and Venice. Accept Catholic delegation. Attract Italian engineers. Summon patriarchate member. Reform the Romanian military. Patronize Orthodox monasteries. So we got 3 things right here, you know, for Orthodox and actually Greek stuff. And I think 4 things here for help from the Catholics and stuff like that. So I wonder if this is going to be kind of like, you know, the thing in EU4 where, you know, sometimes very rarely the AI does it. You can do it as a player. Basically, you'll be like, okay, bro, I give up. We're not Orthodox anymore. You know, we're not Greek. I'm going to go back to being Catholic and Latin. Just please, Pope and other Catholic guys, help me and save me. But from who? In EU4, you got the big-ass Ottomans with their 50,000 troops coming in on you owning literally just Constantinople and Morea, whereas over here, you're fairly big, and, you know, no one's really that much bigger than you. Sure, if they team up, they can beat you, but Ottomans really aren't a threat like that, so I guess we'll see. But, yeah, cool things nevertheless. This disaster simulates the difficult period that Byzantium underwent during the middle point of the 14th century, presenting a challenging run while maintaining a fair balance. It offers an experience that tests your resourcefulness, quick thinking, and management skills. So let's take a look at these events right here. Oversee the restoration of the order in something. We remove him from cabinet. He's busy. Yeah, I'm actually very interested in exploring this, man. In order to complete the disaster successfully, you'll need to conquer a substantial amount of the lost territories of the Empire. During this time, you'll be able to interact with new and unique disaster actions, units, advances, cabinet actions, CBs, I love it, events, buildings, and more. Yeah, all of this is awesome. All of this is awesome. So end requirements. All of these. So we need to end the rise of the Turks. Basically blow up all the Beyliks. We or our subjects have greater than 145 locations. That's a lot. That's almost the size of France. France has like 170 at the start, or 160, so you need to get pretty darn big, man. That's like what's that, like all of Greece, probably the 2 or 3 Western Anatolian areas, Albania, I don't know. Yeah, a bit of Bulgaria and stuff like. You need to be pretty big to end it that way. Yeah, but the rise of the Turks, destroying rise of the Turks is actually more complicated than that. If Eretna gets bigger or something like that, we'll theory craft. Or this way, current year is 1400. We or our subjects have less than 145 locations. Interesting. That's a long-ass disaster. This is going to be a long-ass disaster. Wow. Or no other country with its capital in Anatolia besides us owns more than 100 locations, including their subjects, and is either Turkish, Turkoman, or has the Anatolian Beylik government reform. Okay. Oh, this is the easiest way to end it then. Yeah, it's basically... Yeah, this kind of forces you towards pushing hard into Anatolia as opposed to the Balkans, for example, which does make sense. Those guys are weaker than Serbia and Bulgaria. Yeah, but this is going to be the way to end it, I think. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that needs to be tweaked. I feel like this is actually too easy. Yeah, this might be too easy, but we'll see. Then neighboring countries will be given the opportunity to interfere and claim your lands. That's awesome. That's good. That's very good. Providing a threat to Byzantium's resurrection. Meanwhile, the Byzantine succession crisis will occur simultaneously. Give us a break. Pushing the realm to stretch in order to manage a perfect balance between happy estates, loyal generals, and neighbors in check. Yeah, it's gonna be hard, man. The conquest of unique locations like Nicomedia and Smyrna will yield unique new bonuses to help you on the road towards restoration, while defeating the strongest Beylik will unlock a new interaction in the disasters. Upon successful completion of the disaster, you'll be handsomely rewarded with a unique CB to assist you in pressing the now renewed and ever legitimate claim on the old borders of the Roman Empire, putting you on a path destined for glory. Resurgence of the Phoenix. We unlock the Restore Roman Empire CB. Our victorious resurgence to disaster has allowed us to maintain access to both the spread Philhellenism and encourage Latin militarism cabinet actions. That's cool. Unlocks the something bureaucracies, the efficiency of our cabinet, reformed Cretai something will become permanent. Yeah, that's good. I wonder what the Restore Roman Borders CB is. How long will you have it? On who will you have it? I guess we'll have to see. But that's about it for this Dev Diary, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned next week where I bring you some good omens. We'll dive into the expansion of Eastern Orthodox and also touch on the additional flavor of the Hellenism religion. So that's pretty awesome right there. So yeah, a pretty beefy Dev Diary, man. You know, we talked a lot longer than I thought we would, but that's obviously because I got a lot into this. But honestly, I'm a fan of everything that we're seeing right here. Fan of the Biz stuff. Biz, you know, is already one of the more flavorful countries, but obviously bringing more stuff to them is awesome. This isn't obviously stuff that's been cut, you know, from release or stuff like that, as the developers have talked many times. It's stuff that, you know, that they've come up with after. And I'm sure, you know, if some of you guys are following like game development for the first time, some of you might be thinking like, oh, why don't they focus on fixing bugs first instead of releasing DLCs? Boys, there's not 2 people working on the game. And the guy fixing rivers in China isn't going to be the same guy thinking up, you know, of content for Byzantium and coding the fate of the Phoenix disaster, right? Bugs are getting fixed. DLC is getting made. It's 2 different things. And obviously, you know, the free patch will bring in lots of changes as well. So yeah, awesome, man. I'm a fan of everything we've seen today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about these changes to Byzantium and to what I talked about at the start for the free patch regarding exposing hidden content. Definitely let me know your opinions. You can also let your opinions be heard on the forums as well if you want to have a higher chance of the developers seeing them. And yeah, man, let me know in the comments below as well if you want to see me, you know, do more of these news videos up until the release of you know, this DLC. And, you know, in the comments we can read some developer responses as well if you guys want to right here. So let's take a look at this. There's no specific content for Georgia, but they'll get a set of visuals over here. We can see yeah, bureaucracy DLC biz specific only for now, but we have some ideas for free generic bureaucracies later on, so that's more stuff. That's great right here. The release date for the DLC is they're aiming for April, May, or June 2026. As on the Steam page, we can't be more specific than that just yet. Right now it's March 20th, so I doubt it's gonna be April, honestly. Probably beginning of May, middle of May. Yeah, I think May seems realistic. I think May seems pretty realistic. You know, just going off of how long we had the 1.1 dev diaries and betas and stuff like that, I think May seems realistic. But yeah, I think that is a pretty good place to wrap it up for today, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, leave a comment about everything that we've talked about. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more EU5 videos, news, and other stuff. And yeah, that's it for me for now. See you next time.